Imagine a long stretch of pavement at dusk, where the last traces of daylight paint the horizon in amber and violet, and the air feels charged with expectation. What rolls into view is not just another machine, but a statement, a presence that commands the street with both authority and allure. Its silhouette is unmistakable, broad-shouldered and confident, carrying the weight of an era when design was bold and performance was measured not just in numbers, but in the way it made you feel. Think of chrome catching every flicker of neon. Think of engines that don't merely hum but resonate through your chest. Think of a moment when the car beneath you wasn't just transportation, it was identity. Tonight, we dig into the kind of vehicle that blurred the lines between family comfort and uncompromising muscle, one that demanded attention whether cruising slow or charging hard. Stay with me, because the story you're about to hear is not simply about horsepower or metal, but about how a single machine captured the culture of its time. If you're ready for more deep dives into icons like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below what car or bike you want covered next. The Chevrolet Impala SS 1967 stands as one of the boldest examples of how American car culture fused size with strength, and it takes only a glance at its full-length body lines to see why. This was no compact brawler. It was a heavyweight contender dressed in chrome and steel, and its impact stretched far beyond the dealer lot. From its distinctive Supersport trim to the big block V8 options under the hood, the 1967 Impala SS was Chevrolet's answer to a growing hunger for performance. Packaged in a body that was both spacious and stylish, what made it so fascinating was the gamble. Could a car this large be taken seriously in a world where smaller muscle machines were claiming the spotlight? That gamble is where our story begins, with the Impala SS setting out to prove that muscle came in more than one size. Micro story: the family car that went rogue. The Impala line started as a popular choice for families who wanted a comfortable, good-looking ride, and by the mid-1960s, it was already America's best-selling full-size car. But Chevrolet recognized that performance was becoming a national obsession, and the market was shifting fast. What had once been a comfortable cruiser suddenly had the potential to be a performance legend. The transformation from practical family hauler to supersport powerhouse was both strategic and audacious. When the 1967 model hit the streets with V8 engines ranging up to 427 cubic inches, it represented a direct challenge to the idea that only smaller cars could truly embody the muscle car ethos. This was the moment the family car went rogue, and it set the stage for a cultural shift. Context Digest: a market hungry for speed. By the mid-1960s, young buyers were demanding faster cars and automakers were listening. The performance arms race was heating up, but most of the energy was focused on mid-sized platforms that could deliver lightweight thrills. Chevrolet, however, saw room for a bigger, more versatile machine. The 1967 Impala SS slotted in as the brand's full-size answer to this craving, and its sheer size was a statement in itself. Rather than shy away from the challenge, Chevrolet leaned into it, giving buyers a car that was both a luxury cruiser and a muscle contender. Microstory: designing for dual identity. Styling played a crucial role in making the Impala SS 1967 more than just another large car. Its sculpted sides, hidden windshield wipers, and stacked headlights gave it a modern edge, while the SS package added sport-specific cues like badging, bucket seats, and trim upgrades. This dual identity was deliberate. Chevrolet wanted the Impala SS to look just as comfortable pulling into a drive-in as it did lining up at the local drag strip. Owners didn't have to choose between luxury and performance. They could have both, and that balance made the Impala SS more than just another car in the lineup. Context Digest: muscle on a larger scale. The performance specifications of the Impala SS 1967 were impressive not just for the time, but especially considering its size. Options included small block and big block V8s, topping out with the legendary 427 that offered serious street credibility. In an era where weight was often seen as the enemy of speed, Chevrolet proved that raw displacement and torque could level the playing field. The Impala SS didn't need to outsprint lighter competitors in every quarter mile. It only needed to prove that it could hold its own, while offering comfort and presence they couldn't match. Reflection bridge: this was more than engineering. It was an experiment in redefining what muscle meant when wrapped in a larger frame. And that experiment pushed the Impala SS into territory no one expected. Microstory: the streets as proving grounds. Cars like the Impala SS 1967 weren't built in isolation. They were tested, validated, and immortalized on the streets where real drivers put them through their paces. Cruise nights and informal showdowns became the backdrop where owners proved their full-size cars could hang with smaller rivals. For many, the Impala SS became not just a car, but a badge of identity. You drove it to work during the week, loaded it with friends on Friday night, and still had the confidence to roll up at the strip on Saturday. Its presence alone turned heads, but it was the sound and surge of that V8 that settled any doubts about its credentials. Context digest: the cultural weight of size. In American car culture, size has always carried its own symbolism. The Impala SS 1967 embodied that symbolism, representing power, dominance, and a kind of swagger that smaller muscle cars couldn't replicate. Owning one wasn't just about speed. It was about making a statement wherever you went. This cultural resonance explains why the car left such a deep impression. It wasn't merely competing in the muscle category. It was expanding what that category meant. Reflection bridge, with design, power, and culture working together, the Impala SS 1967 carved out its own lane in the muscle era, but its boldness also created tension. Was it truly a muscle car or something altogether different? That question leads us deeper into the mechanics and perceptions that defined its place in history. The Chevrolet Impala SS 1967 was never content to simply look the part. It had to prove its worth under the hood. And from the very first glance at the engine options, it was clear this car meant business. Within 30 words of its story, the Impala SS was defined by its heart, a range of V8s that culminated in the mighty 427 cubic inch big block, a motor that carried both brute force and bragging rights. What made this remarkable wasn't just the size of the engine, but the fact that Chevrolet was willing to put such firepower into a full-size platform. This was a risk. Smaller muscle cars were the darlings of drag strips, but Chevrolet was betting that torque and displacement could level the field in ways sheer lightness never could. Micro story: the 427 gamble. The 427 engine wasn't just an option, it was a declaration. With horsepower ratings that could climb into the 400s depending on configuration, it gave the Impala SS 1967 an arsenal fit for street dominance. For enthusiasts, this meant a big-bodied car that could launch with startling urgency, while still carrying passengers in comfort. Chevrolet's gamble was that people didn't have to choose between speed and space, and in many ways the 427 proved that point. Owners who checked that box were rewarded with one of the most potent combinations in the late 1960s. Context digest: engineering around weight. The biggest criticism of the Impala SS was its mass, but Chevrolet's engineers leaned on big block torque to counteract that. What the car lacked in featherweight agility, it made up for in low-end grunt. On the street, this meant effortless power delivery, with the kind of push-you-back surge that left a lasting impression even if it wasn't the quickest in the quarter mile. In this way, the Impala SS 1967 didn't need to win every race. It only needed to prove that it belonged in the conversation. Micro story: luxury meets performance. The Impala SS 1967 wasn't stripped down like many smaller muscle competitors. It carried comfort features such as plush interiors, bucket seats, and available console shifters, all while offering that thunderous big block soundtrack. Owners could cruise long distances without fatigue, then arrive at a local strip ready to flex their horsepower advantage. This blend of muscle and refinement meant it appealed to a broader base of buyers, including those who wanted both speed and everyday usability. It was as much a statement about lifestyle as it was about performance. Context digest: the rivalry debate. Among enthusiasts of the time, a debate simmered. Could the Impala SS 1967 truly be called a muscle car, or was it something else? A performance luxury hybrid, maybe even the first of its kind? Rivals pointed to its size and weight as disqualifying factors, while owners argued that the numbers under the hood and its cultural impact put it firmly in the muscle category. This debate actually worked in its favor, keeping the Impala SS firmly in the spotlight and giving it an identity all its own. Reflection bridge, that identity, caught between muscle and luxury, wasn't a weakness. It was a strength that made the Impala SS 1967 stand apart in a crowded field. And that strength carried consequences far beyond the showroom floor. Micro story: the street presence factor, Driving the Impala SS 1967 wasn't just about performance numbers. It was about commanding respect. The long, imposing profile, the SS badging, and the deep exhaust note made it unmistakable. On city boulevards, it became an instant status symbol, often attracting attention even before it proved its strength. This street presence helped cement its legacy as more than just a car. It was an identity marker for those who wanted to project power and confidence. Context Digest. The economics of power. Chevrolet priced the Impala SS 1967 in a way that made it accessible to a wide range of buyers. Unlike some exotic performance machines, this was attainable muscle, and that accessibility amplified its reach. Families could justify owning one for practicality, while younger drivers saw it as an aspirational step into real performance. The balance of affordability and power made it one of the most influential cars of its era. Reflection bridge. All of this performance, luxury, accessibility, and cultural dominance set the stage for a legacy that would outlast the muscle era itself. The Impala SS 1967 wasn't just a car of its time. It was a blueprint for what performance could mean when reimagined at full scale. As we move forward, the question becomes, what lasting imprint did this full-size muscle icon leave on car culture and American roads? The Chevrolet Impala SS 1967 carried its legacy not only through raw performance, but through the way it reshaped what people expected from an American car. And within 30 words of this reflection, its presence stands tall in memory. The Impala SS didn't fade when the horsepower wars cooled. It endured in stories, in garages, and in the imaginations of enthusiasts who saw it as proof that bigger could indeed be better. Its influence reached far beyond sales numbers, leaving behind an imprint that still echoes in the way we talk about muscle today. Microstory, cultural permanence. The Impala SS 1967 became embedded in popular culture, not as a background prop, but as a central figure in how communities expressed power, style, and individuality. Whether cruising down Main Street or showcased at gatherings, it became a fixture in the American landscape, recognizable to those who loved cars and even those who didn't. Its enduring presence in memories and collections has kept the car alive long after production lines moved on. Context, digest, muscle car legacy. While many mid-sized rivals burned brightly and faded fast, the Impala SS 1967 persisted in relevance by carving its own lane. It wasn't simply about quarter-mile times, it was about presence, comfort, and capability combined. That combination ensured that even as tastes shifted, the car's reputation grew rather than diminished. In the broader muscle narrative, the Impala SS stands as proof that performance could scale up without losing cultural resonance. Microstory, from driveway to dream. For countless owners, the Impala SS 1967 wasn't just a vehicle, it was an aspiration fulfilled. Teens who saw one rumbling through their neighborhood dreamed of someday owning the same, while families who bought one new often found themselves hanging onto it longer than expected because it carried such a unique balance of roles. Over time, it became a bridge between generations, something fathers passed down to sons or daughters, carrying with it a legacy of pride and identity. Context digest, collectability and preservation. Today, the Impala SS 1967 occupies a respected space in the collector world, not just for rarity but for what it represents. Enthusiasts prize originality, but even customized examples still hold cultural weight because the underlying silhouette and identity remain unmistakable. Its place at auctions, shows, and private collections is a testament to its enduring value, both financial and emotional. Reflection bridge. The Impala SS 1967 teaches us that legacy is built not only by performance numbers, but by the cultural and emotional footprint a car leaves behind. That truth makes its story more than just automotive history. It's living heritage. Microstory. The blueprint effect. The Impala SS 1967 created a formula that influenced generations of performance cars that followed. Pairing size with speed, comfort with capability, it showed that buyers didn't have to compromise. This blueprint would be revisited time and again, as manufacturers sought to balance performance and everyday usability. In many ways, modern performance sedans and even muscle-inspired family cars owe a debt to what Chevrolet accomplished here. Context digest, larger than life. What ultimately defines the Impala SS 1967 is that it was more than the sum of its parts. It was larger than life, in literal dimensions and in cultural meaning. Its story is one of ambition, boldness, and resilience. A machine that dared to challenge the definitions of its era and succeeded in carving a permanent niche. Reflection bridge. And so the Impala SS 1967 does not sit quietly in history. It roars through memory, shaping our understanding of what muscle, style, and cultural presence can achieve together. Which brings us to the enduring summary of why this car still matters. The Chevrolet Impala SS 1967 is remembered today as more than just a full-size car with a big motor. It was the moment when performance, culture, and ambition collided in a single machine. And within 30 words, its name defines the closing of this story. Buyers in 1967 saw a car that could serve as a daily driver, a weekend cruiser, and a source of pride at the drag strip, all without forcing compromise. That kind of versatility was rare in its time, and it became a central part of why the car has remained relevant for decades. It wasn't only about horsepower or chrome, it was about what the Impala SS 1967 meant to those who drove it. For US viewers, the reality of owning one today is layered. On the one hand, values for well-kept examples have risen steadily, making it a desirable collector piece. On the other, its parts availability, solid design, and strong community of enthusiasts mean that restoration and maintenance are possible, though not always cheap. Ownership is as much about stewardship as it is about enjoyment. Caring for an Impala SS 1967 now connects someone directly to a piece of American automotive heritage. The market angle is equally fascinating. Unlike some muscle cars that catered narrowly to thrill seekers, the Impala SS 1967 was broad in appeal. Its mix of size, comfort, and power drew in families, young drivers, and those who simply wanted a car that could do it all. That breadth continues to matter today, as collectors and fans place value not only on performance, but on versatility and cultural cachet. This is why the Impala SS 1967 is often spoken of not as a footnote, but as a milestone in muscle history. Its legacy extends into the present through design cues, cultural references, and the blueprint it left behind for performance cars that aim to balance daily life with raw excitement. Few vehicles of its era managed to walk that line so successfully, and fewer still are remembered with such affection. When enthusiasts gather, the conversation often circles back to cars like the Impala SS 1967 because it embodies not just an era, but a way of thinking, bold, confident, unapologetically American. The final word is simple yet powerful. The Chevrolet Impala SS 1967 was not merely transportation. It was transformation, a car that expanded the very definition of muscle and left a roar echoing through time.